Hi, everyone. I'm Maria, a pediatrician at Boston Children's Hospital, or as my mother, Helen, loves to call me, her greatest disappointment. Right now, I'm sitting in our living room, watching her swirl her expensive wine while dissecting my life choices for the 100th time. Philip is making a real difference in children's lives. Mom. His students adore him. I say, trying to keep my tone even. Well, darling, teaching finger painting isn't exactly brain surgery, she quips, her lips curling into a practiced smile. I just worry about your future. My father, Thomas, buries his head in the newspaper, his usual strategy for avoiding conflict. My younger sister, Rachel, nods along like a puppet, every word from Mom gospel truth. At least consider introducing him to Roger at the country club. Mom continues. He could help Philip find a real job in finance. Mom, we've been over this, I say, gritting my teeth. Philip loves teaching. It's his passion. My phone buzzes, offering a brief reprieve. It's a text from my best friend, Patricia. Survived another Helen special? I reply quickly. The usual. My husband isn't good enough routine. Coming over later. Her response is immediate. You bet. Someone's gotta keep you sane. Later that evening, Philip comes home, his shirt streaked with glitter and glue. Evidence of another day with his kindergartners. He's grinning ear to ear. The kids made solar system models today, he says, dropping his bag by the door. Little Tommy insisted Pluto should be included. All planets deserve love, he said. I smile, my heart full. This is the man my mother thinks isn't good enough. Oh, by the way, Philip adds casually, your mom called the school again. Wanted to know if there were any administrative positions open. Said teaching wasn't a long-term career choice. She what? It's okay, he says, shrugging. I've dealt with worse from helicopter parents. The doorbell rings. Patricia bursts in, carrying wine and takeout. Your mom's Mercedes was parked at the country club again, she announces, holding court with her minions. They were discussing your unfortunate marriage choices. Their words, not mine. I roll my eyes. Those women are as bad as she is. Patricia grins. Oh, and Mrs. Peterson called Philip charmingly working class at the gala. Philip chuckles, raising an eyebrow. At least I'm charming. Rachel calls later, her voice oozing with false concern. Jenny, Mom's really worried about your future. Maybe you should listen to her about Philip's career. She only wants what's best for you. What's best for me, I snap, is having a husband who's passionate about his work and treats me with respect. But what about status? Image? Mom says people are talking. Let them talk, Rachel. I'm not living my life for Mom's country club friends. Patricia raises her glass. To living life on your own terms. I glance at Philip, who's now playing with our cat, completely unfazed by my mother's latest antics. I feel a wave of gratitude, but also dread. This peace won't last. Mom's control is tightening, and something's brewing. Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house starts like every other gathering. Tense smiles, carefully measured words. Philip, ever the helper, is assisting Uncle Robert with his medication. Here you go, Uncle Robert, he says. These need to be taken with food. Uncle Robert beams. Such a kind young man. Reminds me of my late wife, always looking after others. Mom's voice cuts through the warm moment like ice. Yes, Philip certainly has a nurturing side. More like a nurse than a man, wouldn't you say? Helen, that's enough. Uncle Robert warns, his tone quiet but firm. Mom, stop it, I say sharply. Philip is helping Uncle Robert. What's wrong with that? Everything. Mom snaps, her voice rising. My daughter married beneath her. Now he's playing nursemaid at my Thanksgiving dinner. What will the neighbors think? Philip sets the pill bottle down carefully and stands. Helen, I respect that you're Maria's mother, but your comments are becoming inappropriate. Inappropriate? Mom's voice is shrill now. I'll tell you what's inappropriate. You undermining our family's standing in this community with your little finger painting career. Mother, please, I interject, moving to stand beside Philip, but he holds up a hand. No, let me finish, Mom says, eyes blazing. You strut around here like you belong, but you're nothing more than a glorified babysitter who trapped my daughter. Philip takes a deep breath. I think it's best if Maria and I leave. He turns toward the stairs, but before he can take a step, Mom lunges forward. Don't you dare walk away from me, she screams. Her hands connect with Philip's back, and the world seems to slow. He stumbles, then falls. The sickening thud of his body hitting the stairs echoes through the house, followed by a crack that chills me to the core. I rushed to Philip's side, my hands trembling as I cradled his head. He was unconscious, his arm bent at an unnatural angle. My breath caught in my throat. "Oh my God, someone call an ambulance," I shouted, panic lacing my voice. "He probably did it for attention," Rachel sneered, crossing her arms. "Mom was just trying to talk to him." "Talk to him?" She pushed him down the stairs. "Uncle Robert, you saw it." Uncle Robert nodded grimly, holding up his phone. "I got it all, dear. Every second." "He deserved it." My mother spat, her voice sharp with venom. "Coming into my house, acting like he belongs here." I stared at her in disbelief. "You're insane. You could have killed him." "Maria, dear, you're overreacting," she said dismissively, waving a hand. "He just tripped." Rachel stepped forward, trying to smooth things over. "It's not that serious. Let's not make a scene." The sound of the approaching ambulance cut her off. The paramedics moved swiftly, stabilizing Philip and preparing to lift him onto the stretcher. As they carried him out, my mother had the audacity to mutter, "Well, at least now he has an excuse to stay home with the children." I turned to her, my voice shaking with rage. "Stay away from us. Both of you. If Philip doesn't press charges, it'll be because he's a better person than anyone in this family." "You can't be serious," Rachel exclaimed. "We're your family." "Not anymore," I said coldly. "Uncle Robert, send me that video." As I climbed into the ambulance, my mother's voice echoed behind me. "She'll come crawling back. She always does." But as I looked at Philip's unconscious face, I knew this time was different. Mom had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Later that week, I sat at my laptop staring at bank statements Uncle Robert had just sent me. My stomach turned as I pieced it together. "These transfers, they're all going to offshore accounts," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "She's been siphoning money for years. 30,000 from Uncle Robert's retirement fund. 50,000 from Dad's business." Patricia leaned over, her legal instincts kicking in. She had access to everything as a trusted family member. Classic elder financial abuse. I rubbed my temples, overwhelmed. My phone buzzed. It was Miss Martinez, Philip's school principal. "Mrs. Walker has been calling us weekly," she said, claiming Philip is inappropriate with students. "We've investigated every claim. They're all false. But we almost fired him last month because of the constant pressure." My blood ran cold. "Mrs. Walker, my mother's best friend." "Yes." She said she was concerned as a community member. I hung up, hands shaking. Patricia looked up from her notes. "She tried to destroy his career. All those anonymous complaints. Your mom orchestrated them." Another message from Uncle Robert pinged. It was a video of my mother at a country club meeting. "That kindergarten teacher is probably a predator," she said. "Why else would a man want to work with children? I've called the school, but they're covering for him." Patricia's fingers flew over her keyboard. "I'm documenting everything, the assault video, the financial records, the false reports. This is a pattern of abuse." Before I could respond, my father burst into the room, his face ashen. "Maria, the business," he stammered. "I just found out. We're nearly bankrupt." "Dad, sit down," I said. "There's something you need to see." I showed him everything. The bank transfers, the videos, the lies. His face fell as he realized the truth. All these years, I thought I was losing my mind. Money disappearing. Records not matching. She said I was getting forgetful. Rachel called, her voice panicked. "Jenny, everyone's ghosting me. Mrs. Peterson uninvited me from the charity board." "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything, Rachel. The truth's coming out on its own." "What truth?" "That you're destroying our family with lies." "Check Mom's designer closet," I said. "Those tags match the dates of Uncle Robert's missing money." There was silence on the line. "That doesn't prove anything," Rachel snapped. Patricia interrupted, holding up her phone. "Your mother's bridge club president just called. They've seen the assault video. Helen's been removed from all committees." My father slumped into a chair, his shoulders sagging. "The country club, our friends, everything we built." "No, Dad, you built it. Mom just stole and lied." Uncle Robert sent another text. "Your mother's trying to access my accounts again. I've frozen everything. You can't do this to her." Rachel shrieked over the phone. Her reputation. Her reputation. I said coldly. What about Philip's career? Dad's business? Uncle Robert's retirement? Patricia placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. The DA will want to see this. Elder abuse, fraud, false reports. Rachel's voice softened, almost pleading. Maria, please, we can keep this private. Pay everyone back quietly. Like Mom kept quiet while spreading lies about Philip. My father stood in the living room, looking older than I'd ever seen him. He shook his head and said quietly, I need a lawyer. Use mine, Patricia offered immediately. He specializes in financial fraud. Another text buzzed on my phone, this time from Mrs. Peterson. Helen claims she's being framed, but we've all seen the evidence. I'm so sorry, Maria. I looked at Patricia. How long until this hits the social papers? She sighed. Given your mother's status? Hours. Maybe minutes. Rachel's voice came through the phone, still pleading. Maria, my friends won't even talk to me anymore. You have to fix this. No, Rachel. Mom made her choices. Now she can live with them. 3 years later, I sat on the couch in our living room, watching the news coverage of my mother's sentencing. 3 years for elder financial abuse and fraud. Philip walked in, adjusting his principal's badge, his formerly broken arm fully healed. You okay, honey? I smiled at him. Better than okay. It's finally over. My phone lit up. Rachel's 20th attempt to contact me this week. I stared at the screen as her voice now played. Mom's asking for you. She's really changed. The prison counselor says so. I deleted the message and blocked her number. Patricia walked in, waving her phone. Did you see the charity auction listings? Your mother's entire designer collection is being sold to repay what she stole. She smirked. Karma's got a wicked sense of humor. Remember how she mocked your budget clothes? Now she's wearing orange jumpsuits. Not exactly Gucci. Uncle Robert called with updates. Your father's divorce is final. Helen tried to claim she deserved half the business. The business she bankrupted. The judge wasn't impressed. Oh, and Mrs. Peterson spotted her at the mall. Every high-end store turned her down. Guess Target doesn't care about country club memberships. The doorbell rang. It was my father, looking years younger. Maria, he said with a smile. I sold the house. I'm moving to Florida, starting fresh. That's wonderful, Dad, I replied. He hesitated, pulling out an envelope. Your mother sent this letter from prison. Says she's sorry. Wants to make amends. I took the unopened letter, walked to the shredder, and fed it through without hesitation. Some things can't be fixed. Patricia checked her news alerts. Oh, here's a juicy one. Your mom's social circle is imploding. They found out she was stealing from the charity foundation too. Those missing donation checks. They funded her Bermuda shopping sprees. The society papers are having a field day. Philip's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. The kindergarten expansion project got approved. We're doubling enrollment next year. I beamed at him. Look at you, my husband, a successful educator. What would Mom say now? Philip chuckled. Probably nothing. Hard to criticize from behind bars. The TV flickered to a local news segment. Rachel's face appeared, tear-streaked and bitter. My sister turned everyone against us. We're victims too. I grabbed the remote and clicked it off. Enough of that. Philip wrapped me in a hug. Remember when your mother said I wasn't good enough for you? Now she's unfit for society, literally. Patricia raised her glass. To justice served cold with a side of karma. My father leaned back, a smile playing on his lips. I've got a date next week. Patricia raised an eyebrow. Oh, who's the lucky lady? A kindergarten teacher, he said, his tone teasing. We all burst out laughing at the irony. Later that evening, a final text came through from an unknown number. Darling, it's your mother. I'm being released soon. I've changed. Please. Block. I looked around at my real family, Philip, Patricia, Dad, and Uncle Robert, and felt a wave of peace. My mother hadn't just lost her money, status, and freedom. She'd lost the chance to share in the genuine happiness we'd found despite her. Philip, I said with a grin, let's have dinner at that little diner Mom said was beneath our class. The one where we had our first date. Perfect, he replied, taking my hand. After all, I had married the kindergarten teacher who became a principal, while she became a convict. Some people never learn. but their lessons can still teach us plenty. What would you do if you discovered a toxic family member wasn't just emotionally abusive, but also financially destructive and sabotaging your loved ones? Would you expose them or handle it privately to protect your family's dignity? Share your thoughts below.